Let's talk about Gandhi first. He's been the anchor point in many of your books. At times, he's the central figure, like in your biography of him, and at times, he's like the invisible hand that's like shaping the narrative. So let's pit Gandhi against another influential figure in world history, Karl Marx. You have said in an essay or in a book, An Anthropologist Among the Marxists, you've said inside every thinking Indian, there's both a Gandhian and a Marxist fighting for supremacy. You've studied both extensively when you were in Calcutta. A lot of your teachers were Marxists, but you've said they never let that seep into your classrooms. Having said that, most young historians at that point were told Marxism is the only way to understand history. So you got interested in it as well. And then when you were researching the Chipko movement, at that point, you started moving away from Marxism, started studying Gandhi because the founders of the Chipko movement, Sundarlal Bahuguna and Chandi Prasad Bhatt, both espoused Gandhian philosophy in life. So I want to flesh this out. What is Gandhianism? What is Marxism? What are the main tenets? And then is there an area of overlap? Can they coexist? Are they at conflict with each other? Why do you think they decide every Indian?
So, it's a very good question. One of the advantages, not one of the advantages, one of the attributes of a historian is to constantly rethink and revise. Anything you write is not the last word in history. It's not even the last word for yourself. So, An Anthropology of the Marxist was published 25 years ago. Today, I would say, rather than juxtapose Gandhi to Marx, one should juxtapose Gandhi to Lenin. Who was a Marxist? Who was the most influential Marxist ever? So, in a sense, you
are more of like the applied theory.
Exactly. Precisely.
Applied physics. Yeah.
Precisely. So, I have a book coming out next year, which has a chapter on Gandhi versus Lenin, actually. So, I'll just take a bit. Okay, now you're right. So, Marx was a thinker. Marx wanted to change society, but he was never in a position to change society. Lenin created the post-revolutionary Russian state. Gandhi was instrumental, one of the people instrumental, arguably the most important person in creating independent India. Right. Now, they were born, these are very interesting parallels. Lenin was born just 6 months after Gandhi. So they are roughly exact contemporaries, whereas Marx was born, in 1818. So 50 years before Gandhi. Right? Then both Lenin and Gandhi belonged to a very large, very diverse, but country full of rich culture and language and music and heritage, but under oppressive autocratic rule. In our case, the British, in Lenin's case, in Russia's case, the Tsars, right? Monarchy. Now, both wanted to liberate their country not only from autocracy, but from backwardness. They both emphasized with the poor, the disadvantaged, the vulnerable. Both spent time in exile. Lenin was thrown out by the Tsar, and Gandhi went, of course, voluntarily. But when you're in exile, you can see your country in a clear light or a clearer light. And then you go back. Both came, and both effectively started their political careers at the same time. 1917 was the victory of the Russian Revolution, of the Bolsheviks. 1917 was Gandhi's first Satyagraha in Champaran. Right. So however, there are some incredible parallels, but there are some radical differences. The most important difference is, if you want to effect political change and social transformation, do you uphold the path of non-violence or do you uphold the path of violence? So this is a fundamental, and it still shapes global politics, you can say, right? Now, a second difference was, what is the role of religion? You suppress it completely, or do you allow it a space, but a space in which you can negotiate with other religions? Then, of course, there's a question of economic policy. Gandhi's was grounded in the village. Lenin believed in centralization, industrialization. Then there's also issue of language and expression. Gandhi was non-violent in his political beliefs, but also in his language. The way he was always courteous and civil with his opponents, whereas Lenin was vicious and abusive. As a proponent of violence through armed struggle, he was also vicious and abusive in his personal polemics. In fact, I've said in the past that Lenin would have been a super troll in the age of X and Twitter. Okay. Now, but both had transformative impacts. Without Lenin, you would not have the Russian Revolution. Without the Russian Revolution, you would not have the Chinese Revolution, or the Vietnamese Revolution, or the Cuban Revolution. Gandhi transformed India, but also South Africa, also America through the civil rights movement, also Eastern Europe through his influence on solidarity and so on and so forth. So these are the two great. So that's where I would amend that argument, uh, uh, not rejected but amended, because Lenin's intellectual apparatus is still coming from Marx, except that unlike Marx, he had the opportunity to put his ideas into political practice and was an almost exact contemporary of Gandhi. And also, like Gandhi, lived in a very large, very complex country which had a very oppressive political system, which Lenin and Gandhi in each case wanted to transform. So I think that is, and obviously my preference is somewhat towards Gandhi, but I can see why people are attracted to Lenin, because it promises quicker, more radical, more complete, more comprehensive transformation. Proper liberation. But Gandhi's part is slow, as he used to say, one step at a time, incrementalism. So that is really the great debate of the 20th century, which echoes the great ideological and political debate of the 20th century, is really Gandhi versus Lenin, which kind of to some extent continues on to the 21st. Not totally, because now there are new things that have come, like religious fundamentalism, which both opposed, of course, populism and so on.